Good luck finding the opening.
That's probably going to be the opening. So as you know, I don't know how to start the show, so it'll either be that or something along the lines of Welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holt, and this is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Each week, we'll pick a film that either I or a guest hadn't seen before and really should have by now. This week, continuing and concluding Big Rob Reinter, a whole winter month long of Rob Reiner films. We go back to the beginning. His first directed film, This Is Spinal Tap, from 1982, 84? One or the other. I think it's set in 82, but released in 84. The fake documentary and stuff. Whatever, we'll get into it. My guests left, right, across your podcast aisle, we got Mimi.
Hey.
And Gabi.
Hello.
Hello. Before we get into the movie, we always start by talking about if there's anything good anyone's watched recently. And there's a bit of a twist on it. Gabi, this is your first time on the show. So just generally speaking, do you watch a lot of movies? Do you have any specific taste in movies? Any genres that speak to you?
Oh my gosh. All of them. I have a particular soft spot for weird psychological thrillers, I suppose. Like most of the things that A24 puts out, I'm going to wake up early on a Saturday and watch before my partner wakes up and knows what a weirdo I am.
Good.
So big fan of those in general.
Yeah. Just a good relationship drama like Hereditary to just get the day going before.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It
totally.
just really brightens up my outlook.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you watched anything recently? We've been watching some of the Oscar movies, but
We've been watching the Oscar noms. I really enjoyed Hamnet. That's been my favorite so far. We watched F1. It was fun.
yeah,
It was a movie.
Fun.
it was fine. We've done 6 of the 10 Best Picture nominees now. And yeah, Hamnet was, I would say, better than F1 for me. F1 was fine. I don't know. It was the same filmmaking team that put together Top Gun Maverick a few years ago, and I thought that was better. So, I don't know. I don't know. They're both. I mean, if we're going to go with problematic dudes who are like trying to reject the fact that they're in their 60s, I guess I prefer Tom Cruise to Brad Pitt in the leading role. But it's tough. It's not a huge genre of man, but there's at least a couple out there.
Yeah.
I thought Hamnet was better than
Absolutely. I agree. I really, really enjoyed that one.
We're going to get into like putting on a show a little bit today with Spinal Tap, but that's sort of an aspect of Hamnet eventually too. And I think that's something that you said stood out as a interesting aspect. Not to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed as it went on, the development of the show within a film.
I thought it was weird. And he was talking about how like his soliloquies go up to 11.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Sometimes I want to record online on Discord just because of the way that it like does audio suppression and tries to clear background noise. It's unclear if I tell like a really good joke, like it doesn't pick up on the other people laughing because like the sound gate won't break. But this is live and it was just completely dead in the room.
Ha, 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 ha. Have you guys watched any of the nominated short films?
I have not yet.
No, we
Have
haven't
you?
made it there.
Okay, we stumbled across The Singers,
Okay.
I think on Netflix very randomly, and it was quite beautiful. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I think you would both appreciate many facets of it when you
Okay.
get to it.
What's is that like fictional short thing or
Yeah,
live
it's
action
it's a live action.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
It takes place in what seems to be like kind of a dive bar. It's a bunch of gentlemen kind of at the ends of their days, and one person challenges the bar to a singing contest to decide who's going to win drinks. And it's quite short, but you get really beautiful insights into who each of these individuals are that you would otherwise just kind of make a lot of assumptions about.
Okay.
And yeah,
That sounds fun.
and there's good singing.
I've also heard a lot about some of the documentaries that were nominated, which sound very good. Because I do like a good documentary, which is probably why this film resonated so nicely.
Ooh, nice tie-in. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We can transition. It feels like we're itching to.
Yeah, it's just I didn't want to give too much about Best Picture noms away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can
That's
tell
fair.
you guys about a documentary that's definitely not
Yes.
nominated.
Yes,
Oh,
please.
yes, please.
prior to rewatching This Is Spinal Tap recently in preparation for today's recording, I was working on some of my documentation for work, which I like to do with some background music or maybe a background movie. So I threw on a documentary, and we came across one called The Catwalk, and it is about competitive cat shows.
Oh, wow.
And it was perfect.
Pun intended?
Perfect. It was like Best in Show, but it was real, and it was about cats, and it was all Canadian. And that's all you need to know.
Dang.
To start watching it.
It's a good sell.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought so. Definitely not Oscar nominated, though.
They missed out.
Hey, that sounds fun, though. I like any documentary that is about like a specific world that you wouldn't necessarily see otherwise is always interesting. And I don't feel like I would have come across any cat show related content. So that just in my normal life. So that sounds interesting.
Step right on into my algorithm.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Speaking of Best in Show, a lot of the people who went on to make a lot of movies around mockumentary concepts with a loose plotted structure and a lot of improvisation, including Christopher Guest himself, is in Spinal Tap. That's grammar, right? So This is Spinal Tap, 1984. We're going to talk about it. First, though, we set it up by saying if you've seen the movie before. I have. This is a thing that one of the many movies that my dad insisted my sister and I watch from a pretty young age when we didn't really necessarily, I don't know, probably too early, but I don't know when's the right age. According to some people, Mimi wasn't ready yet.
Yeah, this one. So, Gabi, you watched this a lot growing up, right? You saw this with mom and dad?
So here's the thing. We watched a lot of Christopher Guest mockumentaries growing up, but I don't think we watched Spinal Tap when I was younger. I think I caught Spinal Tap as like a teenager or a young adult for the first time, which is still many, many years ago at this point, but not part of my childhood as much as the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that would explain why I didn't see it until now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had a lot of Christopher Guest growing up in the house. We probably could sing the entire Mighty Wind soundtrack beginning to end.
Yep. And could walk you through all of Waiting for Guffman, but This Is Spinal Tap came later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's maybe not as family friendly or fun for the whole clan. I don't know.
Correct.
Those movies all especially Best in Show, I think probably most people are like that, was just on TV all the time, or at least on what my parents were watching all the time. So got a lot of that. A little of Waiting for Guffman. That's the only Christopher Guest movie we've done on the podcast so far, is Waiting for Guffman. One that he's directed, obviously, just this month alone, he's in Princess Bride. This is the third movie Billy Crystal's in that we've done this month. He's kind of in this movie. He's in it for half a second, but still counts, I guess. And it's the fourth Rob Reiner film because that's the theme of the month. We start with a 1-minute plot summary. Does anyone feel like giving us a 1-minute plot summary?
Gabi, I think you should take this.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I'm a very verbose individual. So let me see what I can do. This Is Spinal Tap is a stunning mockumentary film about a UK-based rock band in the early 80s who have been evolving in various and assorted formats for a couple of decades, creating different styles of music and genres as the world grows. And here they are embarking on a US tour to promote an upcoming new album. And they are struggling to maintain relevance in a world that may be moving on from them. And they are trying to figure out how to keep it all together on stage and off stage.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Well done. Not overly verbose at all.
Thank you.
The main people involved, the creative team, was Rob Reiner. This is his first released directed film. I think there's like a couple shorts before that, but whatever. We count this as the first one. Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer, who were also the four main actors in the film, also wrote the film. Lightly is my understanding. That seems to be the case when you're watching it. A classic example of a film very much found in the edit suite. They filmed over 12 hours for the movie and then grabbed this 84 minutes, and that's the movie. The plot, such as it is like you said, an aging rock band that is no longer able to play big arenas, and it's really going downhill for them. And as it goes downhill, there's a lot of fun and foibles that happen. But despite the fact that it has like an endearing cultural imprint as this one goes to 11, especially that quoted, whatever, the vibe is very much a hangout movie. And turning it back on this most recent time, tend to forget until watching it that it doesn't feel like much of a high pitch. It's pretty low key, kind of laid back. There's the moments when they're on stage are obviously loud and whatever, but it's obviously just four guys who are having a fun time hanging out and, I don't know, making up random band names to say like, oh, there was the Originals, but then there was another band called the Originals. So we had to change our name. Stuff like that. What'd you think of the movie?
I liked it a lot. I think coming from the production background, there are probably moments that may have been more triggering that stood out more to say myself or Gabi than other folks. But it was, the humor was right up my alley.
Yeah, I would agree. It's really, really difficult to be objective about this particular film. I know Mimi mentioned that we were kind of raised on mockumentary style flicks, especially from this particular crew. So, this movie feels like home in a lot of ways because of that style. But I also, as Mimi mentioned, have a background in production. I used to be on the road. So I've seen this stuff happen firsthand, a lot of things that happen in the movie. So that also feels like home. So probably not how most people would describe what they think of this movie, but I am so fond of it for so many reasons.
Yeah, so that's sort of the reason that I thought this would be a fun crew to talk about the movie with. Did anything, Mimi, you referred to it as triggering. You referred to it as feeling like home. It's it's sort of both at the same time.
Same.
I think so what got me, and I burst out laughing, was the cut into, as Gabi researched, and because I had forgotten to, and we did not talk about this beforehand, the Boccherini minuet was especially, I think, that pulled me right back to our violin and viola lessons in the basement, playing from the Suzuki books and, performing at the end of the school year for our families who were like, all right, you did it. Great job. And it's just that song you hear growing up for like 8 years straight because someone in the house is always practicing it. Yeah, that's it. At the end of, I think it's their song Heavy Duty, they break into this, this instrumental outro, and it is this very commonly heard minuet composition. And it's so fun because it's right after Christopher Guest's character, Nigel Tufnell, talks about his classical composition background as he's sampling some new compositions for the filmmaker. So yeah, those little Easter eggs kind of crop up and get you right in the gut. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the most you laughed during the movie.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Yep. That one stood out for me for sure. But I also enjoyed when I don't know what exactly structure we would call it, was stuck, and Harry Shearer's character was stuck in that one.
That's right. The egg.
Yeah. The egg.
The alien
egg.
pod
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
That I think as a children's theater director, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I've been that person on stage trying to like hammer something open,
I was wondering how it was. So speaking of just like the stage mishaps and the stuff, I was wondering how it would play, having not watched the movie for a while, the Stonehenge bit, but just so much set up, and then the payoff does still work really well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I have done that very same thing when I was trying to book a U-Haul. I wrote down what size U-Haul I needed, and someone was like, what do you need a 14-inch U-Haul for? I was like, oh, Okay.
It happens.
It could happen.
Stonehenge.
Yep. And we have all in the production world received draftings, drawings, etc. on napkins and had to try to make something out of them. So yeah, that tracks.
Anything else track in particular for either of you?
The whole movie, Ben, the whole movie. And like, I think something that cracks me up the most is that because Spinal Tap, bless you, because This Is Spinal Tap has this culture that has come out of it. And because I've been so lucky to be on tour buses where this is the tour bus movie that we're watching, people in the industry either love it because it's so accurate or they absolutely hate it because it's so accurate. So the whole movie tracks.
People feel a little bit too attacked by it personally.
Called out,
Yeah.
perhaps. Yeah, absolutely. Even the sandwich bit, the small bread with the large meat.
Yeah.
He just keeps folding it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. Have you ever worked with anyone that's gotten lost on their way to stage?
I have gotten lost on the way to stage. There's a great venue, and I'm forgetting the city it's in. It's called Tivoli, and it's this whole building is basically like a complex of venues. But when you come into the loading dock, on the wall in the loading dock, it says, "Hello, Cleveland." Because you are going to get lost trying to find the specific venue you're headed to unless you go with someone who knows where they're going.
It's a great bit. It goes on for so long, but the perfect amount of time.
Yes. Even finding the gentleman with the gigantic wrench in like some kind of plenum room beneath the stage. It's, quite accurate. What
else did you like? So you coming into is a thing that we used to do when the theme was more dialed in. And this is actually a classic film that someone hasn't seen before and maybe should have by now, especially given your background. Which is to say, that's used to be what the podcast was about. Now we talk about cats for like 5 times in the same month. Was there anything surprising to you based on what you may or may not have known about the movie going into it?
No, I think I think that was exactly what I would have expected, given what I know about touring productions and what I know about Christopher Guest movies as they are now.
I mentioned how like sort of low key and maybe not necessarily low stakes because it matters to the band, but the conversations that make up most of the movie are at a pretty, they're not quite at a boil. That was going to be, So pretty much every episode this month, we talked about the tone management and given Rob Reiner and the writers of all the movies that we've talked about credit for that too. And this is itself a separate tone from all those, but still, it's just so hard to do comedy. It's so hard to do anything parody, mockumentary, whatever. I think going into it before watching it again, some of the moments, especially what happens on stage, get pulled out in my brain, and it feels like maybe not necessarily believable, but when you're actually watching the movie, it doesn't feel that exaggerated. And I'm sure it doesn't feel that exaggerated if you've actually been in that world too, which is interesting. Maybe.
Yeah, honestly, watching it again so recently, everything that they present in that movie, it's just like, okay, it's just another day, just the usual things that would happen, even, getting stuck in an alien egg on stage. It's like, okay, yep, let's go ahead and get the hammer out. I guess this all's all, okay, yeah. Maybe just
blowtorch.
Yeah, the blowtorch is the key, really. Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned children's theater. Has that ever happened with any of the productions you've been involved with?
No, I should say I have not been involved in a situation where a child was stuck in an alien egg or anything of that nature.
It's
but
there
have been,
it's probably good for you and your career.
Yeah, definitely moments you're like, oh, well, that curtain is stuck, and there's like 15 kids standing behind it trying to do their dance and be seen on stage. So there are moments where you're doing that, or you're like fixing a broken zipper as a kid's running on stage, and you're just. Whatever tool is on hand is the tool you have to use. But never a blowtorch, I will also clarify.
My limited theater career, probably the most disastrous event was the curtain got stuck and wouldn't reopen for Act 2 of West Side Story. He was trying to save us. The school I went to was 98.9% white, so we probably shouldn't have been doing that production in the first place.
Yeah, the second half of the show doesn't really do a whole lot anyway. It's not important.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny too, because, you know, you're talking about the tone of this film in particular and how it's just kind of like a hang, right? Everyone's just kind of like chit-chatting and doing their thing. But also everything that happens in the film is disastrous, right? The drummer keeps dying and the set pieces are expensive, but the wrong size or malfunctioning, or a girlfriend is trying to, you know, step in and be helpful, but really kind of knock some things apart.
Yeah.
Now, did you experience any of that on the road?
Well, I will maintain my professionalism, but I will say
Fair
that
enough.
a lot of the dynamics that we see play out in This Is Spinal Tap are taken from real life to begin with. And so I've certainly seen my fair share of some of those things happening. The scene where they show up in the hotel lobby and they're told that they booked the wrong suites or they reserved the wrong rooms. That happens, right? It's all these things that, you know, a touring outfit would encounter every single day. All these adversities that would be obnoxious and disastrous. They are, but they're also just dealt with. And then you move on. And I think that's part of that tone is like, it's this quiet chaos that's constantly happening on screen. And yet the through line is like, oh yeah, you know, let's just sit down at the piano and play something.
Yeah. Yeah. They never seem that bothered by the issues that crop up. Just like, I guess, mad at each other for music reasons, but not necessarily for annoying tour reasons until, well, I guess as they get booked at the local, like, oh my God, VFW Hall. That's the word I was looking for. It is Air Force Base in the movie, actually.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, that's... Did you ever tour in Japan?
I got to do one show in Shibuya. It was a very, very cool little club, but definitely an experience.
Any theme parks or like state fair type things?
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of the settings that they go through are pretty accurate as well.
Yeah.
You show up somewhere and you're like, oh, I guess today we're playing in an airplane hangar. There's one time I was somewhere in the countryside in Ireland and we were in a meat market.
Okay.
I've done a milk market in like, you know, a city square where someone is selling fish right behind the stage. So yes, these things are real. These things are very, very real. I haven't done a rodeo, but I've definitely done plenty of state fairs. Yeah.
Rodeo seems dangerous. You gotta avoid.
Well, you're not playing while they're doing the rodeo.
Oh, okay. Well, that's less dangerous.
They usually tow the stage out into the middle of the arena.
Yeah, like a halftime show type thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like now I'm just thinking of the Big E in Massachusetts. I think main stage is in the same place where the horses dance and whatnot. Dressage, horse dancing.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a thing. But yeah, that's exactly what they do. You'll like set up the stage off to the side and they'll just tow it out there with trucks or tractors and plug everything in. You're good to go.
Well, while maintaining like a professional distance and anonymity, is there any specific incidents that would have like hung together with the other stuff that happens in This Is Spinal Tap that you've experienced?
You can't hear the face that I'm making. But the answer is yes. Like, it's just hard to separate one instance because, like I said, everything they cover in the movie is like, it's stuff that happens. It just is.
Yeah.
You know, you see one person making an effort to maintain their relationship, but in doing so, it backfires and they end up blowing up the relationship with their musical partner. You know, you see a tour manager trying his best to, assuage concerns from the marketing department and, the record label. And in doing so, upsets the whole band. And suddenly they have a record that's black.
Yep.
Just like the White Album.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's classic. It's beautiful. It's it's the color of death.
That's right.
I think in my mind, the album cover that they're describing for the album Smell the Glove is depicted in the film, but it's not. And then I remember that I'm thinking about the original cover of the Strokes album, Is This It?, which has a different cover in the US than it does everywhere else, which features a black glove.
Oh, good lore. Good trivia.
Good trivia. And that album came out 2 decades later. And obviously, I guess, influenced maybe by this.
Perhaps.
But similarly, they were worried that US stores wouldn't want to carry it. So they had to change the cover for America.
Wow.
There you go.
Life imitates art, people.
Totally.
Yeah.
It sure does.
Yeah. I like when they accept that the other musician that they run into in the hotel and they're complaining that there's a bunch of like half naked women with like whips and stuff. And the manager's like, well, yeah, but he's the victim. So it's fine. If we had put you guys in dog collars and it probably would have been fine. And they're just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Love that they just accept that. And they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fair enough. Anything else stand out about the movie to you? It doesn't have to. It's okay.
I mean, I'm just like constantly tickled by the way that each of these characters shows up, right? Especially like thinking back to this classical music thing that Mimi and I discussed earlier. Like we have Nigel Tufnell, who's clearly like been raised as a classical musician, and he's threading together these beautiful piano tunes and, talking to the filmmaker about it. And it's my partner, Joel, really pointed out how much he loves this particular scene because he says it's in D minor, the saddest of all the keys. And that just, as like a kid raised in a classical music household, that just cracked me up because there's no such thing as the saddest of all the keys. It's purely subjective how music makes a person feel. But then he goes on to say that the title of the piece is Lick My Love Pump. Mm-hmm. And it's great in particular because that's where the scene ends. Yep. It just cuts off. It's a great button for the scene. Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And we don't see anybody's reaction. You're simply left as an audience member wondering like, what is it about Lick My Love Pump that is going to be so tragic that it needs to be in D minor, which we now know is the saddest of all the keys. Yep. And it's going to be a purely instrumental piece as well. Mm-hmm.
With horns.
With horns. Yep. Yep. And I'm still to this day sad that that's not a track that they made up for the soundtrack when they released it and remastered it.
Oh, they should have.
That would have been good.
They would have been good. Yeah. So beyond just the movie and everything, is this like the genre of music you typically listen to?
No, the genre's a little out of my wheelhouse as well. But I think that just kind of added to like, yep, this is just like, it's more like business to me than fun. More business and pleasure rather. But to Gabby's point about that scene, it also, it was just very funny that he was talking about like, oh, it's a mix of like Mozart and Bach, and it's just Mach. It's just like that's it. Just like these little bits that just add to the comedy in that.
Line. It's not exactly deadpan, but there's a lot of like delivery of like, they don't think it's a joke, but it is funny. Yeah. And I think we mentioned this in the When Harry Met Sally episode, but it's not necessarily like everything's a written sketch, but everything does have. Every scene has a thing happening and tends to end on a button that works really well. Yes. Like the title of the saddest song he's ever written that he's putting together.
I think too, coming off of the last film we had watched before this, where we had a conversation of like, oh, this isn't really how you want a comedic scene to be.
F1?
Yeah. We were just like, this just didn't read right. This was like so well done, where they just let the camera linger just like second past the joke, where you're just like, oh, you're really sitting in how funny this is.
Mentioned mockumentary before, and now talking about how the camera sits in the scene. You don't necessarily always see him. He's on screen a lot. Rob Reiner as like Marty DeBurge or whatever his name is, but you'd see him like just off camera, or you hear his voice from behind the camera, and there's a lot of handheld camera used. And we talked about Christopher Guest and stuff, but I think we're all probably thumbs up on mockumentaries as a thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That said, what's the last one you watched and enjoyed? And did it come out in the last 20 years?
Last mockumentary?
Yeah. Because I'm struggling to think of one from any time recent. That was
Okay.
good.
Well, the most recent one I watched would have been the new Spinal Tap movie.
Oh.
Not a bad place to take the conversation.
Right.
I will throw out there, though, that one of my favorite all-time mockumentaries, not super recent, would be Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Which is like late 90s, kind of.
These are early aughts.
Early aughts.
Kirsten Dunst era. Yeah.
I think I watched that around that time and have not revisited it. So I don't really remember much about it.
It is time. We'll be watching that immediately upon concluding recording
Like
this. Or I can do my interpretive reenactment of it because I have the whole thing memorized.
Oh, perfect.
We'll do the end. We'll save that for the next episode we record.
Exactly.
I did watch Mascots, which was I think the most recent Christopher Guest mockumentary. Yeah, that feels like so long ago, but I know that was fairly recent.
Not to keep it entirely within Christopher Guest world, but I think before Mascots, he made an HBO show called Family Tree with Chris O'Dowd, that guy that was in Bridesmaids. Mm-hmm. And that show was good. Yeah, right, exactly. Kristen Wiig's character agrees. That show, I think, only lasted one season and ended on a cliffhanger and then got canceled. But was a good show, has all of the people you expect to be in it. Kind of. He starts in England and then he like takes a plane to California, and then like all your friends are there. Fred Willard's there. Fred Willard's in one scene of this movie too.
I did also watch, there was a documentary now on Netflix, the miniseries.
Oh, sure.
Those were also all very good. Which actually led me to watch some of the documentaries it was based on. I was like, no, this can't be real. And I was like, oh, no, this is very accurate.
I don't have a documentary now one. I might have Original Cast Album Company in that cabinet there, which is expertly parodied by the Co-op episode of Documentary Now, which is almost 1-to-1 Original Cast Album Company, but funny. It is, that's a great pull. I hadn't thought of that. But yes, yeah. Documentary Now is a good one.
That's a good one.
Not that comedies get made and released in theaters anymore, but I can't think of like the last mockumentary that was released in theaters.
No.
Was Mascots just on streaming too? I think it was a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Or a Netflix.
I think so.
Yeah. It's just too bad.
So something I just thought of too was the limo scene. I don't know, Gabi, if you thought about this, but the whole like Frank Sinatra storyline also harkened to like listening to Grandpa complain about modern music.
Good point.
Right. I think there were many layers in that scene where I was like, oh no, I've heard this conversation before.
Yeah. Well, and also like I appreciate you bringing that up because it does speak to like this dissonance between what people think is good music, and it brings in like the cultural differences too. It's like this UK band coming into the US, and you get this, I want to say it was like a New Yorker, kind of driving this limo, having his own opinions about music, and they just roll up the window. And some people get so passionate about their favorite artists and their background and their history, and you can see how quickly other people can be like, no, that's not my scene.
Yeah.
Just roll up the window. But yeah, definitely brings back some evenings with Grandpa listening to, I don't know,
It's just the classic, the greatest hits. But even then, talking about like production with him, and he's like, well, back in my day, this is what we listened to, and this is how you did it.
That's right. I wonder what Grandpa would think of This Is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'd have to ask him.
You'd have to ask him.
That'd be really funny.
We should have. Too late.
Let's get him in here.
We're already recording. They can dial in.
Yeah.
Yep. That'd be good.
Yeah. It's possible. What do I bring up next? Yeah. This comes up anytime we do any comedy or like specific comedy genre rom-coms, now mockumentaries. Just the lack of new ones is tough. I think mockumentary especially is really hard to pull off and not make it feel super lame and unfunny. And so I think maybe being low key helps. Over exaggerated would not work too much for this, which is hard to say when there's like the images that come out of this movie, especially when they're on stage. You wouldn't necessarily say it's subtle, but
that's it. You don't want to get into a place where you're stereotyping in a really like over the top or offensive way. You want to still honor like the thing that you are doing with the mockumentary.
Yeah. And I think the characters, despite being, what they are, they could be dumber, I guess. Not saying they're like super smart or anything, or that they're handling any of these situations well, but they could be reacting much dumber, and it's more interesting that they don't, I guess.
It seems like they each have a pretty clear idea of who they are as the characters, as musicians, as human beings. And I think they each have their own intelligence that they bring into it, right? Like Nigel is clearly a musical genius.
Sure.
Right? Creating this fusion of classical and also modern lyricism. And they each have their own ways that they, as we all do, are very intelligent and also maybe missing the mark. And I think it's tasteful the way they navigated that.
And Harry Shearer's character, who's the bassist, as like similar to Nigel, as kind of a guy who's like, we should be doing like free jazz. That's like that's my scene. This is sort of whatever, but this isn't what I'm really passionate about is experimental jazz. Love that too. It's so good. Okay.
I can appreciate too the through line in a lot of the Christopher Guest mockumentaries following this is just the artistic differences.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
It's all done very tastefully, but still true to the experience.
Absolutely. And I think that shows in This Is Spinal Tap when they have these flashbacks to previously televised eras of this band playing like the Flower Children.
Yeah, listen to the Flower People.
Listen to the Flower People, right? And then the earlier one that's a little bit more poppy.
Yeah.
I think they like obviously they went through a lot to like create those productions and write this music and film it. And it's all quite convincing because they're actually people writing this music.
Yeah.
And you see that again in like A Mighty Wind too. Like they really go for it. They really embody these genres.
I also love that each of those flashbacks ends with a quick explanation of how that drummer died in an unusual and tragic way. Absolutely.
I was thinking about not the drummer thing in particular, but the turnover in the band as like part of the story.
Yeah.
So the end.
You said there's been like 37 people in the band.
Right. And yet we have that information and then we see this moment where there's this conflict and Nigel storms off and takes some time away from the band. And like, that's what happens. Like if you look up a Wikipedia page on a long-standing rock band, there are dozens of people listed as band members because maybe someone had a kid during that tour and like had to stay home, or maybe they were in rehab, or maybe they were just like in a fight or doing something different. Not to make it all super dramatic and stereotyped, obviously, but then you've got these two core members of the band who are in conflict with each other. And like, that's one of the things about this that's it's like another big disaster. It's another big piece of chaos that happens on screen. And yet they just kind of take it as it is. They're like, well, no, of course we're going to get back together like we've always been together. They are the through line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, it was another moment where I was like, yeah, no, that actually happens. It's heartwarming when they get back together.
Yeah. It's a nice moment when he like waves him on stage and he gets to do his guitar solos.
Yeah, exactly. And yet that is such a common trope in movies where there's like a band performing, right? Even thinking to Freakier Friday, like, someone waves someone else on stage and that's the big ending of the movie. And I thought that, they play into those tropes really well because they're real.
Yeah. Thinking of the guitar solos, I love the part where he's just using a violin and then tunes the violin and then goes back to just making like just pure noise. It's a really funny bit.
That stuck out to me as well. I was thinking about that particular one. He like takes the violin away from his guitar and looks at it.
Yeah, he looks at it kind of quizzically and changes. Yeah,
like
tightens one of them.
Like that's gonna make it or break it.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're within range. But anything else you want to say about the movie before we get through to ratings?
I just love it so much, and I could rewatch it forever. It's so quotable.
As we're going through some of these Oscars movies and firing that up and seeing 84 minutes, including credits, was just what a godsend.
Yep. That was nice.
That was really nice.
They get in, they get it done. And I will just one more comment from my former career life. I appreciate that they really went for it with the production. Like you can tell they carried the same lighting rig from venue to venue to set it up to film these different scenes. Like you can see that like they actually went there with the production. And I appreciate that.
They brought that big skull around too. It's in maybe half of the stage setups. It's cool.
Yeah.
You glad you'd watch this?
Yeah.
At long last.
Yeah. I think too, there's a lot of references to the movie that I've heard growing up and I've used since then that I didn't have, had never seen them in the original context. But
yeah.
Now I have.
Yeah. It is always interesting. There's been a few for people watching movies for the first time this month, especially. I think a couple of my friends that hadn't seen Princess Bride before was like, oh, that's where that's from. And surely this applies to This Is Spinal Tap as well. Okay, so let's get to ratings. On a scale of 0.5 to 5, on any scale of your choosing except for stars, what would you give 1984's Rob Reiner directed film This Is Spinal Tap?
Me first?
Go for it.
Yeah, you've done this before. I haven't.
I don't want to take the obvious one.
That's upsetting.
It is upsetting.
Why do you have that on your photo slideshow? Particularly the imagery of dead E.T. in a creek.
It's when he's at his lowest, but he comes good at the end. We had to fill out photos for the library, and I was like, that's what's on my phone at the moment, and I haven't gone back to fill it out with better photos.
The library is going to definitely flag you for something.
I think in the spirit of this, we felt it was very true, and some people appreciate the film and some people do not from the touring industry. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 green olives with stuff in it.
That's amazing.
That's a good scale.
That's a great scale. This is out of 5?
Out of 5. So you have to like really work for it if you want to do the specific one that's like the obvious choice.
Well, my ratings go up to 11, obviously. Yeah. So I'm going to give it an 11 out of 5.
Yeah, you got it.
An 11 out of 5 drummers.
Yep.
Because
that is how many they've had maybe at that point.
There are many of them. Also, if you go on IMDb, the movie is rated out of 11.
Oh, that's
fantastic
good.
Work.
Were you expecting it to actually depict one of the drummers spontaneously combusting towards the end? Right before they go to Japan?
I wasn't not expecting it.
I thought that was the best transition in the whole movie.
Yeah, and then it just switches and it gives them their at the time final drummer the chyron of their name, like it did everyone else an hour and 20 minutes earlier. Perfect. Okay. I guess a 5 out of 5 inch replica of Stonehenge.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got to be.
There's a joke in there somewhere about 5 inches, but also a cucumber wrapped in tinfoil.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's 5 out of 5 inch cucumber wrapped in tinfoil would have also worked.
Good one. That was a funny bit.
It's a good bit.
And I cannot tell you the thrill of going through an airport with so many luggage carts full of instruments and amplifiers, and then trying to figure out where the thing is that's setting off the metal detector.
That's what you want. I'm trying to just get home.
Good
Right.
grief.
It's just
The time that I crossed into a new country and was asked to carry someone's instrument bag, and it had not drugs in it, but an apple from the flight. And you cannot bring produce into that country from outside of the country. And the explaining that had to happen that, no, this is not my instrument case. This is not my apple. And also, please don't fine me hundreds of dollars for this.
that's why they asked you to take that one.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't a cucumber.
Yeah, there's no produce muling in this movie, but I'm sure that happens on tour all the time.
Wink.
In every episode, we ask a question at the end of the recording that sort of ties together each episode in a month. I didn't think of a specific one that was going to tie together all of the Rob Reiner films. So instead, we've gone with who in this movie most reflects how you would handle the situations that happen in the film. Who reflects how you would handle, I guess, being on tour with Spinal Tap?
Well, I think I would probably be the poor sucker of a roadie who has to run out on stage and spin Nigel around in a circle and then also grab every single tool out of the toolbox and work so very, very hard to fix the malfunctioning set piece.
An unsung hero, that guy is.
I'd probably be the tour manager. It's like, if you just fold the deli meat. Nope, don't fold the bread. Just fold the. Never. It's fine. No, I get it. We'll order something else.
Yep.
I think we've actually had that conversation when I'm trying to make a lunch and I'm struggling. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anytime.
I like how he tries like a couple times to be like, don't fold the bread. And he's like, you know what? You're right. This is a problem. This is ridiculous. I hope it doesn't affect your performance. I'm sorry this happened. Ooh, those are both good picks. I don't know. Nigel's like the moodiest and he's like pretty passive aggressive throughout the film. So probably around there, I would say. Not for the entirety of the character, but for those aspects. Harry Shearer's kind of just hanging out. So maybe that too.
I feel like he's like the quiet power of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always funny. Just because he looks funny in any scene. Not Harry Shearer personally, but he's got, mutton chops and bangs.
And the biggest bondage gear on his little body.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Constant. That's bassists, I guess. On that note. Okay. I think we've done it.
We did make it to the very end of this before we got you to laugh cry.
Thanks for being on this episode, me and Gabi.
Thanks for having me.
This has been an absolute joy.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad. Next month is Oscars month. The Oscars themselves are on March 15th, but throughout the month, we'll pick a different Oscar nominee for Best Picture and cover that on the podcast. And somewhere along the lines there, probably in the middle of the month, we'll do another awards show to rival the Oscars themselves. So far, they've beaten us in the ratings every year, but I think we get a little closer every time. So that get ready for the Laties. That's coming up in a few weeks. Before that, I don't know exactly which movies we'll cover yet. Probably One Battle After Another, probably Sinners, and then a couple wild cards as well. We'll see. Well, thanks again. This was a lot of fun. Do it again soon.
Yeah.
Lick my love pump.